Definitely a long day at work today, but I kind of came to a conclusion where our jobs are just kind of keeping us dumb, keeping us from progressing intellectually. And I think that there's a few reasons for this. The first and obvious thing is just going to be the burnout. 60, 70, 80 hours a week. A lot of people are working. If you're lucky and you have a 40-hour a week job, hey, stick with that. If it's paying the bills, that's like winning the lottery these days. But if you're like the rest of us, you don't have time to do anything else. You don't have time to really read books and dig deep on why you believe what you believe. For the vast majority of people who are in the workforce today, especially in the corporate world, what you learned in college, that's all you know. You talk to a lot of people who are in their 30s or in their 40s who never really had a chance to have a life after college. They essentially can come across as just like college kids who never really got out. A kind of arrested development. And I think it's pretty common. And this isn't any kind of judgment or anything like that. I think we all go through it out of necessity. I mean, who has time to really dig deep in philosophy or dig deep into the minutia of the day? People have to work. We have to work because things are so expensive now. And sadly, we have to work more and more and more. So what used to be the time that we had to kind of develop ourselves over time, it's just gone now. You have to focus on the task. What's the task at hand? If you break your focus, you're going to get yelled at or disciplined, and this is one of the bad things about the corporate world, but it is true nonetheless. You focus on your task. Your task is just boring. Most people, I don't even think, need a degree to have most white collar jobs. You just show up, they're going to show you what buttons you need to hit, what folder needs to be filed where, respond to emails at the appropriate time, and for the most part, just collect your paycheck. There's not really any kind of like serious thinking that goes in with most white collar jobs. I find myself very fortunate to be at the company that I work at, where you have to be really kind of quick on your feet, and that's great. But it's just, if you worked in a corporate job before, you kind of get that. A lot of like adult children, and you're like, hey, large man, look at you in your pink shirt. Hey, the weather's getting nice, and I want to enjoy it. Don't rain on my parade. But I do think that it's a real problem, because I think that as people, we want to progress intellectually. And if you just kind of stop intellectually progressing out of college, it's just, where's the joy in that? Being able to understand the world on a larger scale than just the theory that you were taught in the sociology class. That's what you need in life. And this is a strange thing, because most people think that blue collar workers are going to be boring, ignorant, uneducated people. Most blue collar workers at least have the free time to develop themselves intellectually in a kind of way that most people just don't kind of get. The interesting thing about white collar workers is there's a real kind of a collective understanding of things and a collective agreement, right? A real vacuum chamber of ideas in many ways. And I think you get that in a lot of places, but most corporate workplaces are a very closed system. And some can be very cult-like. And if you've worked in a major corporation, hey, maybe you can get that. Maybe you'll understand and probably agree with that point. And as strange as the corporate world has become over the years with like all the tech companies, Google, you see the people who work there, just the kind of strange adult children lives that they live. And you see people who look so different, and maybe we'll use the word unique, but at the same time, it's like if you ask them questions, for the most part, they all say the exact same things, because like I said, most of these people haven't intellectually evolved since they left college. And that's not saying that, hey, blue collar workers are any better. I mean, they're really not. It's just America in general, you work until you die. You don't work and grow. You work until you die. And the first thing to really go, to be sacrificed, to the cult of profit, is just your own intellectual abilities. I mean, they just go because, they're wasted. It's vestigial. It's not something that's needed anymore. It just, if you don't use it, you lose it. You'll still have the natural ability to kind of wit that you have, that you grew up with. But at the same time, it's like I said, these ideas that you have, like the things that you believe, the things that you've been told were right, the things that you've been told were wrong, you never understand. Most people really seem to never really get past why they believe what they believe. It's just kind of, they take things at face value. They'll agree with things because they just were told it was kind of appropriate to believe these certain things. And then that's it. And that's everyone in America now. And I know we have a big international community, so maybe you can tell me if I'm wrong here, but I don't think I am. Is this something that exists everywhere? I can see it existing in the West, but America is just kind of known for people working themselves to death. Are we the Chinese? Are we the Japanese? No, that's a whole different kind of thing. And I can't speak to that, but I can speak as an American. If you ever talk to people who just work all the time, they are dreadfully boring people to talk to. I find myself quite fortunate to have been able to spend quite a few years just kind of like living and doing my thing and not really having to work so much. It's really allowed me to kind of progress and like come to my own conclusion on things, develop myself intellectually. Even though I'm a big idiot, I still have kind of my own ideas, and I appreciate that. But at some point, I can only ask people so many questions before I just kind of want to give up. Because I know what answer I'm going to get when I ask people questions. And it's not just political things, it's just life in general. There's no uniqueness to people in America really anymore. Everyone dresses the same way. If you're from another country, and Americans really don't understand this unless you know a lot of international people, if you live in another country, you can tell an American when you see them. They dress a certain way, and we all dress the same. It almost looks like most Americans dress at the same store. We wear the same things, we walk the same way, we carry ourselves the same way. It's a real kind of bizarre thing. And beyond that, like I said, we're predictable in a very different way. We're predictable intellectually. Like, if you ask an American a question, it's a good chance you know what they're going to say. The big reason for that is we just take things at face value. And you can blame it on social media, you can blame it on academia, you can blame it on just people being stupid and eating food that's just poison and killing them slowly. But there's just something unique about Americans where we just kind of stop intellectually evolving at a certain point. It's a fascinating thing. But, they say like ignorance is bliss. But at the same time, is ignorance bliss because America seems to be one of the most unhappy places on the planet right now? Ignorance is bliss may be the case if the cost of living isn't so high that it's melting faces all across the country. Because the fact is, we're coming to a time right now where people got to be smart. There's always the saying, people are waking up. People got to wake up already. We're past the time where people are allowed to start waking up. But what can you do? I guess that's the question in the end. Because, it's going to be an individual thing. You can't tell people, hey, you got to get smarter. That's not how it works. And most people are just kind of dumb. IQ exists on a bell curve. And, that's just a sad reality. Not everyone has the same potentials. Like, I don't have a fear of public speaking. Everyone has their own talents. Everyone has their own positive. Everyone has their own deficits. Your gifts are all over the place. But I honestly believe that, everyone kind of has their own thing. But America, for some reason, and it blows my mind. And I know it's not something that only I see because I've lived in enough places where the big dumb American is kind of a common trope. But the fact is, like, coming back here and actually getting back in the workforce, meeting more and more people, just having conversations. It's if you give like a thought-provoking idea to a lot of people who kind of exist in that world where they're working all the time, don't really have time to think about stuff, more than like, hey, I got to focus on the task. I got to focus on the task. Even things that are just simply thought-provoking can be like kind of mind-blowing to them. And like I said, it's a fascinating thing because it's like, what percentage of the population is like this, and what effect does it have on the rest of your life? Because intellectually, if you don't evolve, how does that affect your decision making? But I guess for right now, decisions are a lot more simple. You just try to save money when you can and make as much money as you can. Because those are really the only things that you need to focus on in America right now. Make more money, make as much as you can, even though that money eventually isn't going to be worth anything. So why even save money? You just got to get on that wheel. I think at no point in history has the idea of the rat race or the hamster wheel been more apt than it is now. Because, you are just running for no reason. You're in a maze that never ends. And that 60, 70, 80-hour work week, it's just going to get longer. So I say, hey, wheels up if you can. Save up your money and get out. Hey, there are better places out there at this point. Like I said, hey, love my country. I love some fast food. Give me some Mickey D's. I love a good Popeyes. I like going to the movies and getting like extra buttery popcorn. I like a baseball game in the summer, and I even like going to the rodeo. But a smart man, a prudent man, I think they need to start putting their bets somewhere else. You know what I mean? Because this kind of pressure to just keep performing, to keep focusing on the task, focusing on the day-to-day, never really being able to focus on tomorrow because you're kind of stuck in survival mode, I think honestly we can all agree that that's just going to get worse. Times are changing. Honestly, I love my coworkers, and thankfully I get to work with a bunch of smart people, which is great. But yeah, if you're out there and you have a corporate job and you've kind of gone through this whole thing and you understand, because sometimes you feel a little bit on the outside, especially if you have a differing opinion. And that's not really me saying this or that, or, what anyone believes. It's just something about, like, every company in particular has their own culture, and each one is different than the next. And it's just strange. Everyone has their own, like I said, these own little agreement systems. The corporate culture of each company, it breeds its own toxic environment, in my opinion, because it just feels, like I said, unnatural, and it really just kind of holds people back and keeps them in that, like, closed system. And they say these days, if you lose your job, like if you lose your corporate job, it can feel like a death in the family, because there is a bit of a cult vibe. If you work that much, if you work like 50, 60 hours a week, and like your only social circle is within the corporate walls that you work in, I mean, how is that not a cult? If you're only outside of your workplace for a couple hours a day before you go to bed, you wake up, immediately get back there, I mean, you might as well be living on another planet, because you're missing out on everything. But this is how everyone works. And that's why there's no culture in America anymore, because everyone just exists in their workplace. There's the workplace culture, and that's it. There's no other culture. It's a bizarre thing. And there's got to be some serious consequences to this down the road, when the American people aren't really able to intellectually evolve. Where are our leaders going to come from? It's slowly turning into that idiocracy. I mean, you feel it. You look at it right now, and that's without me even talking about politics. That's just talking about people. I feel like it's only a matter of time before people start feeding Brondo to their plants. It's getting crazy. But like I said, if any of you guys have any stories of kind of like the weird corporate culture, weird corporate events that you've been through, and you just, I don't know, let us know, because it's fascinating stuff. And I'm definitely curious, and I want to know. But yeah, thank you for stopping by. We love you guys. Thank you for the support, and hope you guys have a good one.